Hi, welcome back to Ibby's Bookshelf. I'm Ibby, and today is Diary of a Wimpy Kid's turn on my channel. I'm reviewing the first book. It's just called Diary of the Wimpy Kid. Other books are Roderick Rules, The Last Straw, but I'm starting with the very first one. So before you watch this video, make sure to hit the notification bell and subscribe. Now, the author of this book is Jeff Kinney. Jeff Kinney's writing style is a lot like Dork Diaries, but one thing he says is that his books is not a diary, it's a journal. Remember that for if you ever meet the main character, Greg Heffley. Greg has a mum and a dad like everyone. Well, mostly everyone. And he has an older brother called Roderick. Roderick is in high school. He is I think Greg would call him annoying. And he has a little brother called Manny, about a few years old, I'd say. It's very unclear in Manny's description. But Greg does not like Manny either, because his parents protect him like a little prince. Even if Manny takes a permanent marker and draws a hideous face in Greg's bedroom door, his parents don't go, "Manny, why did you do that?" or even tell him off. They just go, "Aw, how cute." So you can see why Greg doesn't really like his family a lot, but it's no excuse for what he does. He is in middle school and in America, and like all middle schoolers, he is mixed with a bunch of gorillas who have to shave twice a day, and he hasn't even hit his growth spurt. He hates middle school, but teachers are wondering, why is bullying such a big problem? I think it's pretty obvious. In his middle school, he has it really bad though. In the basketball court, there is a piece of cheese that had been there for like an entire summer, I'd say. Then one boy touched the cheese, and that's what started the cheese touch. It's like cooties. If you get it, the cheese touch, no one will come near you. The only way to protect yourself is to cross your fingers, and the only way to get it off you is to pass it on to someone else. So Greg once even taped his fingers crossed to protect himself from the cheese touch. But then someone got the cheese touch and moved away, so it stopped. But Greg is very worried that someone is just going to start things up again. Middle schoolers get into trouble a lot, but Greg is worse than most middle schoolers. The first time he gets into big trouble with his school, I'd say, is when he and his best friend Rowley steal one of Roderick's parental warning CDs and try to listen to it in school. His parents don't allow Greg to listen to the CD at home, so Greg knew that the only way he could listen to the CD was at school, but he gets caught by a teacher. Rowley and him were about to be let go, but then Rowley started blubbering and saying that he doesn't want rock and roll to ruin his brain. Honestly, Greg sometimes wonders about that kid. Now let's go on to Rowley. Rowley had recently moved in to the neighborhood. He was very weird at first, and Greg didn't really like him, but then he felt sorry for Rowley and took him under his wing. But I think it's mainly so Greg can play all these little tricks on Rowley that Roderick had pulled on him. Now, we're going into more trouble. Rowley and Greg decide to open a haunted house in Rowley's basement. But they don't really get everything done, and they get a kid stuck under a bed. They try to get him out, but then Rowley's father came. Now, Rowley's father and Greg really don't get along. Like, they're mortal enemies. And Greg didn't really ask permission to use the basement to make a haunted house. So Rowley's dad sends Greg home. But since Rowley's dad didn't believe that they were actually trying to do a haunted house, he didn't make them return the money they had collected. So it's a good day, at least for today. Now it's Halloween time. They go in and get quite a bit of candy, but then a bunch of teenagers come around with a fire extinguisher, and if it hadn't been for Rowley's costume and his shield, him in a shining suit of armor, their candy would have been drenched. So Greg did something he really regretted. He yelled after the teenagers, "We're calling the cops." He really regretted it. Their closest escape was his grandma's house. They went inside and locked themselves in. They tried to wait the teenagers out, but after a while the teenagers did go and they managed to sneak home. But Greg's dad has a very bad habit on Halloween. He hides in the bushes with a trash can full of water, and whenever teenagers come by their house, he throws water at them. He calls that fun. And when Greg and Rowley finally get to Greg's house, they forgot all about his dad, and his dad drenched them, and all their candy was soaked. Too bad. Now, it's been a while since Halloween, and things have been pretty smooth until a comic competition comes in for the school newspaper. Rowley and Greg start off as a team for the competition, but then they break off. Rowley wants to carry on doing their original idea, but Greg wants to do something new. But when Rowley's idea wins, Greg goes up to him and says that he has to put Greg in as the co-creator, but Rowley says that he doesn't have to do anything, and Zooey Mama was all his idea, the name of this comic. A couple of boys see them arguing and start chanting, "Fight, fight, fight, fight." If middle school boys like only one thing, it's fighting. Greg didn't want to look like a chicken, and neither did Rowley, but neither of them knew how to fight. They started trying to figure out what to do, but then all those boys that was crowded around them went running. They looked around and thought, what's going on? Then they saw a bunch of teenagers coming out of a truck. At first they were confused, but when they came close, they realized it was the guys from Halloween. They had finally found them. They pinned them behind their backs and looked for a punishment. And then the biggest one saw the cheese. They made Rowley eat a bit of the cheese, and Greg didn't want to end up like Rowley and quickly said, "I would, but I'm dairy lactolerant, so I can't really eat it." The biggest one said, "You're lucky, punk," and made Rowley eat the rest of the cheese. On the way home, they both walked together. It was something they hadn't done in a while. But then, guess what? The next day, when the kids were out in the court, the basketball court, and they saw that the cheese wasn't there, they quickly put two and two together. They knew that Greg and Rowley was there, and Greg took the blame. He said that he was sick and tired of the cheese there and decided to get rid of it. Greg expected for everyone to be like, "Wow, man, you're so cool, thanks." But everyone screamed and ran away from him. Greg instantly thought, I really should have worded my story better, because if I got rid of the cheese, it means I had the cheese touch. And that's the end of this book review. Right. What I really like about this book is it's so bizarre. All these events are so bizarre. But when you go through it, bit by bit, you can tell, well, it can actually happen. It's actually believable. But what I don't like is that girls in the first book play absolutely no significance in them, and in the later books they are portrayed as aliens from outer space. And what I mean by that is they aren't portrayed very nicely. They're thought of weird and crazy and only there because they look pretty. So I don't really like that about Jeff Kinney's books, but they are good stories. Now, I'd recommend this book to someone who doesn't really go in for fantasy but likes a good chuckle, likes to laugh. I'd recommend it to that sort of person. So that's it for today. Please make sure to like, share and subscribe to my channel. And I would also like to say that you can expect a new video to be uploaded once a week at the least. Please make sure to also check me out on Instagram, and make sure to subscribe. I'll see you guys next time in my next video.